off switch. Hello. Yay. Check, check. Yes. Okay, we're on.
Hey there, Bulldog. How you doing?
That is remarkably quiet.
Hello.
That's better.
All right. Funny running into you here. If you couldn't hear that earlier, Auld Reekie's cheer is to the tune of Hey Mickey. That's adorable. I already love them.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's do Derby. Over here on track 3, last game of Saturday's day 2 of, where are we? The Big O. We've got Auld Reekie Roller Girls versus Sac City. First up for the Auld Reekie Roller Girls is Admiral Attack Bar, number 1111 in the green jersey, and La Lucha, number 5, jamming for Sac City. La Lucha stumbling into all 3 of the Auld Reekie blockers. Admiral Attack Bar breaking free. She is lead jammer. HN Icy going to the penalty box. That drops Sac City down to 3 blockers. La Lucha, the jammer for Sac City in the blue jersey, knocked down by the wind of Admiral Attack Bar's passing as Admiral Attack Bar gets her first grand slam, and Auld Reekie is on the board. La Lucha recovers quickly, though, gets out of the pack following Admiral Attack Bar. Both jammers in the pack now. Admiral Attack Bar shuffled to the side by number 78, Bazooka Salt, but gets through as she gets to the end of the engagement zone and a free pass. La Lucha now going to the penalty box on a low block penalty, so in the very first jam, we have our first power jam. Admiral Attack Bar with another grand slam. Auld Reekie up to 15 points. Admiral Attack Bar going into getting repelled by a lethal weapon. Retreats back into the arms of her teammates, or the hips as the case may be. Forced out of bounds, time runs out. 2 more points in that last scoring pass.
This evening's roster for Sac City Capital Punishers is 10-13 Red Tornado, 12 Devastator, 15 HNIC, 1886 Jekyll and Hyde the Body, 1985 Con Artist, 327 The Naka, number 5 La Lucha, 50 Knee High Ninja, 503 Enemy of the State, 64 Hipposquishamus, 68 Dies Array, 713 Aletha Weapon, and 78 Bazooka Salt.
And we'll get to the Auld Reekie roster in just a minute, but right now we've got Caitlin O'Carroll jamming for Auld Reekie. She gets the lead jammer again. 2 lead jammers in a row. La Lucha coming back from the penalty box on her initial pass. She did get 3 points in the first jams, so the score is 17-3. But Caitlin O'Carroll now on her first scoring pass, getting sandwiched by a block of Sac City blockers. Knee-High Ninja, Red Tornado, Devastator, and who's that other one? Con Artist. Forcing Caitlin O'Carroll out of bounds. She calls off the jam, does not allow La Lucha to score. She will pick up 3 more points for Auld Reekie. That brings them to an even 20 points.
Auld Reekie tonight is wearing the green, and their roster is number 11, Crazy Legs, 1111 Admiral Attack Bar, 16 Velocity, 2 Kiki Pearson, 264 Pope John Prawl, number 3 Cinderella, 34 Double Destruction, 39 Yin and Bang, 626 Lilo and Stitches, 66 Moby Quick, number 7 Mini Riot, 85 Skinner Alive, 87 Caitlin O'Carroll, and 893 Bint Imperial.
Number 68, Dies Ray, jamming for Sac City, gets repelled by Double Destruction and Velocity. Looking for the inside lane. Pope John Brawl is there. Lilo and Stitches around the outside, but Dies Ray just ahead of Lilo and Stitches. So Sac City with their first lead status. But Lilo and Stitches hot on her wheels. Dies Ray opting for the safety. Gonna go scoreless this time. Dies Ray calling it off.
Lilo and Stitches informed me earlier this evening that she is just back 7 weeks after having some meniscus surgery, and this is their second game this evening. She's doing excellent for just coming back.
Rematch from Jam number 1, Admiral Attack Bar, 11-11 in the green jersey, going up against number 5, La Lucha for Sac City in the blue jersey. La Lucha quick off the line, but Admiral Attack Bar finds a tiny opening just on the outside center line, but La Lucha following right behind. However, Admiral Attack Bar is lead jammer, calling off the jam, no score once again. Score remains 20-3.
This evening's matchup is the last game for Sac City at the Big O tournament. This is their third game. It's also Auld Reekie's third game, but they have one more game tomorrow against Emerald City Roller Girls.
.25 minutes remaining in the game. Two fresh jammers out there. Number 503, Enemy of the State in the blue jersey, fights off the Auld Reekie blockers, gets lead jammer for Sac City. Bint Imperial jamming for Auld Reekie, gets knocked to the side by HN Icy, has to recycle a bit, but scrambles back in, completing her initial pass. Enemy of the State jamming for Sac City is on her first scoring pass. Yin and Bang shuts the door on the inside. Crazy Legs knocks her to almost out of bounds, but Enemy of the State stays in, completes the pass. But Bint Imperial gets in as well. Both jammers scoring a matching 4 points, so a 0-point differential.
Dies Array, captain for Sac City Capital Punishers, is back on the jam line against Stitches, number 626.
The score now 24-7. Lilo and Stitches knocked out of bounds by Con Artist. Scrambles back to her feet. Recovers, looking for the outside lane. The mini right of the pack. This time Bazooka Salt goes a little bit too far. Gets another out of play penalty. Grand slam for Lilo and Stitches. Dies Ray still stuck behind a 3-wall. It's Pope John Brawl, Ciderella, and Crazy Legs. And now Double Destruction backing up to make it a 4-wall. But Dies Ray takes advantage of a little bit of confusion, but Crazy Legs shuts her down, sends her out of bounds. That was a lethal weapon, sending Crazy Legs out of bounds. That allows Dies Ray to come back in front of her. But she cuts someone else and gets a cutting the track. I can't see everything. I was talking about me. Sorry.
Auld Reekie's not only going to start in a power jam, but Sac City's got 2 blockers in the box, so it'll be a 4-2 advantage for Auld Reekie.
Admiral Attack Bar once again jamming for Auld Reekie. Admiral Icarus, you might say. No, that's, I don't know. I'm calling jet lag. No, Admiral Attack Bar gets some scrambling through the pack. Admiral Attack Bar's lead jammer. Still on the power jam. Con Artist making contact with a shoulder check, but Admiral Attack Bar just hops right on by. 1 grand slam down. But Sac City's jammer Dies Ray, number 68, back on the track. She started out in the penalty box. So the power jam is over. But Dies Ray still has to get through her initial pass. Now just squeezing up the inside. Velocity trying to reel her back in. Mini Riot automatically bridging. Great teamwork from Auld Reekie. But Admiral Attack Bar coming through again. Gets forced out of bounds. Only part way through the pack. Gets 2 points on the last scoring pass. Calls it off. Sac City coming up empty.
And we're back to 4-on-4 thanks to those 30-second penalties. Sac City's got La Lucha jamming against Caitlin O'Carroll from Auld Reekie.
La Lucha, number 5, jamming for Sac City against Caitlin O'Carroll, number 07 of Auld Reekie. Is it 07 or 80? 80? It is 80. It is 87, sorry. Her shirt wrinkle. I was momentarily confused there. But La Lucha is lead jammer. I think only the 3rd time that, that Sac City's gotten lead jammer. 3rd or 4th time, possibly. La Lucha around the outside is going to get a grand slam. Caitlin O'Carroll just completing her initial pass. Looks like one blocker from each team in the penalty box, so 3-on-3 in the pack. Auld Reekie speeding up the pace of the pack right now, pushing for a forward position. Sac City trying to get a goat. Bint Imperial stuck now behind the Lethal Weapon and HNIC. And there goes La Lucha careening through the pack. Gets all 4 points, calls off the jam in time. Caitlin O'Carroll coming up empty.
That was excellent point protection by Auld Reekie as they tried to get to the front and increase the speed, giving their jammer a chance to try and catch up to the pack. Unfortunately for Auld Reekie, but good on Sac City, they were able to repel the Auld Reekie jammer, allowing their jammer to score and awarding no points to the green team.
Still one blocker in the box for each team. 3-on-3 in the pack. Admiral attack bar to the inside. Shakes off a hip check. No, gets knocked out of bounds by Con Artist. Has to recycle back. And Enemy of the State, the jammer for Sac City, is lead jammer. 2nd time in a row for Sac City. Crazy Legs with a hip check knocks Enemy of the State to the outside. Now we're seeing a lot of tiptoeing around through that narrow inner and outer boundaries, just barely staying in bounds. I've seen quite a bit of that so far in this game.
A lot of tiptoeing. Both teams got to be a little bit tighter to the lines. They think they got the jammer out and not quite. These jammers are super strong, leaning in on the blockers and are able to just squeak by.
You know, it's been pretty effective for both teams in this game so far. Auld Reekie at 55, Sac City at 22, with just under 16 minutes remaining in the first half. La Lucha once again getting lead jammer 3 times in a row for Sac City. Lilo and Stitches at the front, outraces a Lethal Weapon, just a little too fast for the Sac City blocker, but she's got to catch up to La Lucha, who's on a scoring pass, runs into Pope John Brawl. Crazy Legs just a hair too late to help out, and La Lucha completing the pass for 4, but Lilo and Stitches stealing one off the back.
The Capital Punishers have gotten lead 3 times in a row, but in the last 2 jams, they've allowed Auld Reekie to score. The first time, it was even 2-2, and this last time, Auld Reekie picked up 1 to Sac's 4.
So now still 56-26, Auld Reekie in the lead by 30 points, but Desiree, 4th time in a row, getting lead jammer. Early on in the first half, Auld Reekie was consistently getting lead jammer, but now Sac City is on a little bit of a streak. And obviously, lead jammer so critical in controlling your opponent's scoring ability. Desiree hits the very fast pack, bounces, ricochets off a hip check from Skinner Alive. I believe Skinner Alive got a cutting the track penalty, but Sac City is not going to score anything. It's going to be a scoreless jam.
Auld Reekie's doing a fantastic job of recognizing when their jammer's not lead, rushing to the front and trying to speed the pack, either to make the jam scoreless or give an opportunity for their jammer to put points on the board.
The green jammer, did she get 1 point on that? Oh, okay. Actually, I'm seeing the scoreboard. I looked behind. I did not see it, but it looks like Auld Reekie did get 1 additional point, whether it was from the previous jam or that last jam. But they're now at 57, so 1 more point than they had before. Admiral Attack Bar gets lead jammer. First time in the 5 jams that Auld Reekie's gotten lead jammer, but this time deftly moving straight up the center of the pack without getting touched. 4 points so far for Auld Reekie. Admiral Attack Bar sees Enemy of the State approaching the pack and calls off the jam. Team timeout called by Sac City.
Well, we have a team timeout. I want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Dairy Mart. We would like to thank our local neighborhood Dairy Mart stores. Dairy Mart, our family's best for almost 50 years. Thanks to everybody in the stands for being here. I know that Rose is playing Texas on track 1, so we really appreciate the fans for both of these teams. And Auld Reekie would like to let everybody know that they brought loads of merch, and it's all available at a table underneath the pork sign by track 2. So please go over and buy a t-shirt or something from our friends from Edinburgh.
Yeah, it's right next to the pit crew table in between tracks 2 and 3. Caitlin O'Carroll, number 87 in the green, jamming for Auld Reekie. Against number 5, La Lucha for Sac City in the blue jersey. Caitlin O'Carroll, lead jammer. That's 2 times in a row for Auld Reekie. La Lucha breaking free of the pack, but Caitlin O'Carroll hits the pack with a lot of speed. Runs into Red Tornado, dodges past Devastator, jukes around the outside of Red Tornado, calls off the jam. 4 points for Auld Reekie and a donut for Sac City.
Both teams are staying pretty faithful to their jammer rotations. Auld Reekie's got 4, and Sac City's got a 3 jammer rotation. And their captain, Desiree, is in heavy rotation there.
"12 minutes left in the first half. Desiree, number 68, jamming for Sac City against Lilo and Stitches, who gets forced out of bounds by HN Icy, drawn back almost to the jammer line. And it's lead jammer time for Desiree of Sac City. Lilo and Stitches gets past the engagement zone, gets a free pass around HN Icy. And Desiree forced out of bounds, recycled all the way back, and Lilo and Stitches unnoticed goes through the pack like a ghost. 4 points for Auld Reekie. Desiree completes the pass and matches those 4 points. So Sac City settling for a tie jam, 4-4.
They might have had a tie jam, but that allowed 2 of their blockers to return from the box, and one of Auld Reekie's blockers is now sitting in the sin bin. So Sac will have a 4-3 pack advantage going into this jam.
Auld Reekie with 1 blocker in the penalty box. That's Double D's Destruction. So a 4-on-3 pack advantage for Sac City. Enemy of the State, number 503 for Sac City against 11-11 Admiral Attack Bar of Auld Reekie. Enemy of the State gets around Moby, Quick, and Skinner Alive to get lead jammer. Admiral Attack Bar getting repelled, but sneaks, slides right around the lethal weapon, but gets a cutting the track. So that's a power jam for Sac City. Grand slam on the first scoring pass for Enemy of the State. Scoring pass number 2. Enemy of the State just brushes off a hip check from Skinner Alive, and Mini Riot unable to make contact. Another grand slam for Sac City. Another scoring pass. Moby Quick, Skinner Alive, and Mini Riot trying to stop Enemy of the State, but Hippa Squishamus breaks up the wall, opens up the inside lane, and yet another grand slam on this power jam. Double Destruction is the GOAT in Sac City's pen, but Admiral Attack Bar back on the track. Complete, so the power jam is over, and Admiral Attack Bar, just like that, outraces Red Tornado out of the pack, completing her initial pass, though not yet putting points on the board. Enemy of the State on another scoring pass, had to work for it, but she does get all 5 points. She already had started the scoring pass before Admiral Attack Bar got out of the penalty box, so instantly got the ghost point.
I think we're starting to see a momentum shift towards the Capital Punishers. They had a number of lead jammer statuses in a row, and then that very first power jam in their favor. Now we'll see if La Lucha can carry it forward as she jams against Imperial Bint.
69-50. Auld Reekie still in the lead by 19 points as the clock ticks down below 10 minutes in the first half. Still in the first half. La Lucha, number 5, jamming for Sac City, gets lead jammer. Bint Imperial goes to the penalty box. So second jam in a row, giving up a power jam to Sac City. La Lucha jukes to the outside, gets around Pope John Brawl, but Crazy Legs picks her up, unable to force La Lucha out of bounds, and it's a grand slam for Sac City. Sac City rapidly catching up to Auld Reekie, chewing up this lead that they built up. Ciderella, though, with a big shoulder check, knocks La Lucha out of bounds. She has to recycle, but still on the power jam. La Lucha comes back in clean, weaves her way up the center of the track and dodges past, this time getting past Ciderella. Calls off the jam just as Bint Imperial comes out of the penalty box, so Auld Reekie will be able to field a fresh jammer. But another 2 big jams for Sac City in a row.
An excellent offense by the blocking duo, HNIC and Con Artist, really trying to break up Auld Reekie and making it so they can't form their really tight, indestructible walls.
And we have a 5-on-5 jam. Slilo and Stitches, number 626, against Daizai Ray of Sac City, number 68. Daizai Ray on the outside, picked up by Skinner Alive. Lilo and Stitches not making much progress on the inside lane, switches to the outside and back inside, but Red Tornado catches her. Now Jekyll and Hyde the body, and Red Tornado and Devastator. Now it's a 2-wall. Devastator and Jekyll and Hyde the body. Devastator drops back the bridge. Jekyll and Hyde the body runs out of room, and it's lead jammer for Auld Reekie. But there goes Daizai Ray, caught on the trail of Lilo and Stitches. Lilo and Stitches turns around, tries to call off the jam, and does it in time. Daizai Ray does not score any points. Lilo and Stitches, though, gets a back block major, but does catch 1 point. But it's going to be yet another power jam given up to Sac City.
Sac City definitely has the momentum in their favor. This is the 3rd power jam that Auld Reekie has given up in the last several jams. And it's a pack advantage as La Lucha starts in a power jam.
So 10 points in the lead, but Sac City's jammer La Lucha, the only scorer on the track. And quickly around the outside, Crazy Legs go into the penalty box. Join Yin and Bang and the jammer Lilo and Stitches, so only 2 blockers on the track. Pope John Brawl and Ciderella. They go into motion as soon as La Lucha hits the pack. But only Ciderella able to make contact, and only a glancing blow. 5 points for La Lucha of Sac City. And just like that, second scoring pass, Ciderella picks her up, gets position, and forces La Lucha out of bounds, but goes out of bounds herself, allowing La Lucha to come back in, but Pope John Brawl was able to recycle. So great teamwork and track awareness by Pope John Brawl. Hip check stops La Lucha in her tracks. And Yin and Bang teaming up with Ciderella, and now Crazy Legs triple teaming La Lucha as Lilo and Stitches completes her initial pass. La Lucha still on a scoring pass, but getting repelled. This time Auld Reekie with all of their blockers, well, almost all their blockers on the track. Yin and Bang going back to the penalty box. And Lilo and Stitches gets a grand slam as La Lucha gets a cutting the track. It's going to be a power jam Auld Reekie now. Lilo and Stitches on their second scoring pass. Thank you. And a grand slam for Lilo and Stitches. 10 points so far for Auld Reekie in this jam. Third scoring pass, Bazooka Salt screening across, teaming up with Knee High Ninja, and now Connor just coming in. And time runs out. Looks like an illegal procedure called on someone. Well, I saw it looked like someone was calling, one of the referees was calling an illegal procedure, but and now it looks like we might have an official review. We'll see. Oh, just a timeout.
It's a team timeout for Auld Reekie.
Yeah, I was catching it in profile, so. There we go.
It looks like in that last jam, Sac City Capital Punishers were willing to trade some points with Auld Reekie to get 2 of their blockers out of the box and start the next jam 4-on-4. Unfortunately, La Lucha cut the track while she was trying to burn some time off that penalty clock, and it ended up in a power jam for Auld Reekie with only 2 blockers from Sac City on the track. Not exactly how they anticipated that going.
So that's an Auld Reekie timeout. Sac City has already taken 1 timeout, so after this, both teams will have 2 timeouts remaining. Score or time for clock frozen at 4 minutes 55 seconds. The score 83 for Auld Reekie, 69 for Sac City.
And as the team timeout ends, we've got 3-on-3 in the pack, and we're going to start in a power jam for Auld Reekie with Admiral Attack Bar donning the star. La Lucha is standing in the box, so power jam won't last for very long.
And it looks like Con Artist in the penalty box for Sac City. La Lucha was standing up at the first whistle and comes in, gets a hip check from Skinner Alive that takes her down into turn 1. She has to recycle all the way back to the jammer line. But Admiral Attack Bar gets a low block, so yet another in a string of power jams for Sac City. Auld Reekie having trouble keeping their jammers on the track.
Really unfortunate penalty for Admiral Attack Bar. She got a forceful hit that knocked her down on the track, and she's just slid into the legs of one of the Capital Punishers. It's so unfortunate. There's nothing you can do, completely out of your control, but she is in the box.
So that's a grand slam for La Lucha, and now another scoring pass, dodges past Skinner Alive and avoids Bint Imperial and Crazy Legs to get another grand slam. A lot of speed on number 5 from there, Sac City. Comes in this time, an organized 4-wall, but very quickly broken up as Mini Riot has to drop back to bridge. But Crazy Legs dusting it off, knocks La Lucha out of bounds, but she calls it off and does get all 5 points before the jam ends.
And it looks like Admiral Attack Bar is back in the box for yet another low block as she fell and slid into another blocker at the end of that jam. So La Lucha will start in a power jam for Sac City.
So if they, I think this is 5 power jams. Are you keeping track?
Yes, it is 5 power jams in favor of the Capital Punishers. They themselves have had 3 jammer penalties, so it's 5-3 on the power jams in favor of the Capital Punishers.
Now we could be in the territory for a turnover. Right now this is a potential 5-point pass, but Auld Reekie only leading by 4. La Lucha gets around velocity and does it. Gets a grand slam. That's going to put Sac City in the lead for the first, no, actually, the very first jam, they got 2 points, if I recall. No. I'm thinking of a completely different game. It's been a long day. But no, I believe this is the first time Sac City has been in the lead of the game. This is the first turnover. La Lucha took a big hit at the end of the jam, but picks herself back up, gets to the bench on her own power.
We've got Desiree against Bint Imperial with a full blocker contingent for Sac City, but only 3 for Auld Reekie.
Only 2 minutes remaining in the first half. Sac City in the lead by 1 point, 84-83. Bint Imperial jamming, just absorbs a hip check from a lethal weapon, gets around Devastator, but gets knocked out of bounds by Red Tornado. Desiree, number 68 of Sac City, gets lead jammer just ahead of Bint Imperial. Bint Imperial one-on-one with Devastator and gets the free pass at the end of the engagement zone. Desiree through the pack, gets all 4 points, calls it off, nothing for Auld Reekie.
Excellent pass by Desiree. She just saw that gap between the 4-wall and just poked her way through. Sheer force, making quick work of Auld Reekie.
Once again, 5-on-5. 1 minute remaining. Admiral attack bar gets forced out of bounds by Con Artist. Has to recycle back to the top of turn 4. Comes back in, avoids the shoulder check, but gets taken down by Jekyll and Hyde the body. There goes Enemy of the State with lead jammer for Sac City. But Admiral attack bar fight this time out racing Jekyll and Hyde the body to complete her initial pass. But there goes Enemy of the State getting a hip whip off of Jekyll and Hyde the body, forced out of bounds by Velocity, but does get 1 point on the track. And a ghost point for Pope John Brawl in the penalty box.
Excellent awareness by Auld Reekie's Crazy Legs. As the jammer got forced out by her teammate, she took a step back, but not quite far enough back. But great awareness trying to force that cut.
And there were exactly, I think there was 30 and a half seconds on the clock when the when the last jam ended. So there was just enough time to start a one more jam automatically. So no timeout was necessary. La Lucha, number 5, already lead jammer, runs into Skinner Alive, and Mini Riot, and Yin and Bang, but that gets broken up by Devastator. But Skinner Alive manages to stay in position. And now it's Mini Riot holds her briefly, but La Lucha races out, gets all 4 points. Lilo and Stitches completes her initial pass, but does not get around in time. A 4-0 jam ends the half.
And Sac City goes into halftime in the lead, 94-83. Fierce competition between these teams. Sac City is really excelling at their bridging, their runbacks, and they are managing to play offense and defense really effectively. If they have to bridge to hold the jammer, that last bridger is actually getting into Auld Reekie's wall and preparing it as their jammer comes around. Excellent job. Auld Reekie has a fantastic dynamic four-wall, and you'll see them almost in a bully circle, arms connected, shifting, moving, forcing out, helping each other. Really fun to watch and super dynamic.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's pretty clear the story here was all those power jams given up, man. The jammers for Auld Reekie were having a lot of difficulty staying on the track, and that always have a devastating effect on your defense. But got about 13 minutes left in halftime, so we'll be coming back then for the second half of the Auld Reekie Roller Girls Twisted Thistles against the Sac City Capital Punishers. So 5-on-5 jam. Admiral attack bar immediately picked up by the Sac City defense. A lethal weapon, the Naka. And Bazooka Assault holding back in a lethal weapon one-on-one, but La Lucha of Sac City already lead jammer. Admiral attack bar of Auld Reekie gets around a lethal weapon, but there goes La Lucha up the inside lane, calls off the jam. 4 points Sac City.
La Lucha carrying on Sac City's streak of lead jammer statuses. They had 6 lead jams in a row to end out the first half. And her lead jam makes that 7 in a row.
Now we've got 2 Auld Reekie skaters in the penalty box, Velocity and Crazy Legs. That leaves only Skinner Alive and Mini Riot on the track against a full-strength Sac City. Caitlin O'Carroll jamming for Auld Reekie. Runs into Sif Resistance, but Daizai Ray runs into Mini Riot, who stops her in her tracks. But both skaters fall down in a pile. Daizai Ray pops back up, but gets a misconduct penalty on Daizai Ray, sends her to the penalty box, and it's a power jam for Auld Reekie. And lead jammer for Caitlin O'Carroll. Caitlin O'Carroll hits the pack. It's rebuffed by Hippo Squishamus, and Con Artist moves to the inside, squeezes past, but runs into Red Tornado, who shoves her back into the pack. Legally. Caitlin O'Carroll gets a free pass at the end of the engagement zone and a grand slam for Auld Reekie. Hippo Squishamus going to the penalty box for Sac City. Jam called off, so a 5-0 jam for Auld Reekie.
Hopefully the tides are turning in Edinburgh's favor, as Sac City saw some blocker and jammer penalty trouble in that last jam. Auld Reekie will now start with a full contingent and Admiral Attack Bar, their most effective jammer, on the line.
Four on three pack advantage. Desiree was standing up in the penalty box, so a short-lived power jam. Now both jammers back on the track. Desiree running into a lot of resistance from Double Destruction, Ciderella, and Crazy Leg. Then Pope John Brawl on the outside. Not getting very far into the pack at all. But Admiral Attack Bar with a quick juke to the outside, gets around Bazooka Assault, and she is lead jammer. Desiree finds the outside lane, outraces Crazy Legs to get out of the pack. Crazy Legs doing another tap dance, but this time just to stay in bounds, even though no one was actually in front of her. She wouldn't be cutting anyone, but still good practice.
Desiree has excellent footwork, doing quick toe stops on the outside to re-enter legally, making it really difficult for Auld Reekie to do their run backs that they're so good at. But Auld Reekie's got excellent lateral footwork, escorting her line to line and making it very difficult to get through the pack for the Sac City Jammers.
Bint Imperial jamming for Auld Reekie, but Enemy of the State gets out first for lead jammer. Bint Imperial now completing her initial pass. 4 on 3 pack advantage for Auld Reekie. HNIC in the penalty box right now. Enemy of the State catching up to the pack, gets around Mini Riot, gets hip checked by Skinner Alive, knocked flat to the ground, but calls off the jam and does pick up 2 points for Sac City, nothing for Auld Reekie.
Wonderful offense by Auld Reekie at the end of that last jam, as they picked off one of the Sac City Capital Punishers, trying to get 1 point before the Sac City Jammer could call it off.
Score now 100 for Sac City, 92 for Auld Reekie, so only 8 points separating the teams, and just over 25 minutes remaining in the game. Admiral Attack Bar against La Lucha of Sac City, but Admiral Attack Bar races around Bazooka Assault, the last line of defense for Sac City to get lead jammer. And now there goes La Lucha, but she's got some catching up to do. Admiral Attack Bar hits the pack on a scoring pass, gets around a lethal weapon, runs into Bazooka Assault, and Jekyll and Hyde the body again, calls off the jam. She's gonna get 2 for Auld Reekie, but also holding Sac City scoreless.
Auld Reekie's been setting up right on the jammer line with a strong back wall the last several jams in a row, and I think it's really effective for them to slow down the Sac City Jammer. And of course, as soon as I say that, Auld Reekie moves in front of Sac City and sets up.
This time it's Lilo and Stitches versus Desiree. Desiree dodging a hip check from Ciderella, but runs into a 2-wall of Skinner Alive and Mini Riot. But dodges around them, getting lead jammer for Sac City. First time in a few jams, or maybe just one. Lilo and Stitches still in the pack, stuck behind, gets around a lethal weapon, almost gets around Red Tornado, but Red Tornado recovers. But now it's 1-on-1. Lilo and Stitches steps around a fallen Devastator, and this time brushes off a hip check from Red Tornado to complete her initial pass. But there's Desiree on a scoring pass. 1-on-1 with Skinner Alive. They both go down in a pile, but Desiree calling off the jam secures a point differential. 4 points for Sac City, nothing for Auld Reekie.
The Capital Punishers really like to play offense to help out their jammers, and I would say that most jammers really appreciate that. And so they played offense right off the line, springing Desiree in less than a quarter of a lap. Really effective offense.
Skinner Alive in the penalty box for Auld Reekie, but Devastator and a skater to be named later. That's a con artist in the penalty box for Sac City. Bint Imperial gets a cutting the track. That means it's another power jam for Sac City. Auld Reekie was starting to close the gap, but now giving up another power jam. And that is Enemy of the State. Still trying to get out of her initial pass. Gets around Crazy Legs and Caitlin O'Carroll to get lead jammer. But that did take some time off the clock. But now it's a power jam. First scoring pass. Enemy of the State dodges around her teammate Devastator and moves straight up the center. Caitlin O'Carroll, the only Auld Reekie skater able to make contact. Holding up Enemy of the State. Crazy Legs and Skinner Alive trying to bridge, but a free pass for Enemy of the State gets her a grand slam. But Auld Reekie able to hold it to just one scoring pass on that power jam as Bint Imperial returns to the track. Enemy of the State instantly picked up by Pope John Brawl, but dodges around her. Bint Imperial, though, making short work of the pack, completing her initial pass, but not going to get around in time. Enemy of the State calling off the jam, does get all 4 points, so a 9-point jam for Sac City.
Excellent communication by Auld Reekie. I can hear them all the way up here at the announcer's booth, calling to each other, trying to find each other and put together their four-wall. But Capital Punishers really playing excellent offense and not letting them connect.
La Lucha, number 5, jamming for Sac City against Admiral Attack Bar, a familiar matchup. These two jammers have been going head-to-head for most of the game, just regularly in the game. This time, Admiral Attack Bar getting the advantage with lead status. La Lucha held up in the pack by Ciderella and Minnie Wright and Skinner Alive. Oh, and there's double destruction as well. Admiral Attack Bar getting through almost unnoticed, a grand slam on the first scoring pass. La Lucha getting through, completing her initial pass, but Admiral Attack Bar dodges behind Bazooka Salt to get another 4 points for Auld Reekie, matching the 9 points scored by Sac City in the previous jam.
Just 10 points separate these two teams, with Sac City has 113 and Auld Reekie 103. Desiree dons the star again against Lilo and Stitches. And Auld Reekie has a pack advantage, 4-3.
That's right, Sac City's the Naka in the penalty box. Desiree up to the front. Lilo and Stitches had to deal with a lethal weapons, but she just snatches lead jammer ahead of Desiree and is able to call off the jam, so a scoreless jam.
Wonderful job by Lilo and Stitches, not wasting any time calling off that jam. She was behind, her pack still had advantage, so call it off right away. Don't burn any clock.
So the score still 113-103, Sac City in the lead with 20 minutes remaining in the game. Caitlin O'Carroll on the line for Auld Reekie in the green jersey. Enemy of the State, number 503 in the blue jersey for Sac City. Shuffled to the inside by Minnie Riot and Skinner Alive. But finds the opening on the center, and the rest of the Auld Reekie defense cleared out by Devastator. But Caitlin O'Carroll was already lead jammer, just busted right through the Sac City defense, and this time weaves her way around in a slalom run through the pack, calls off the jam, 4 points, and Sac City's Enemy of the State just a hair short to score any points. So a 4-0 jam, Auld Reekie.
Sac City's having a really hard time keeping blockers on the track. They might be missing just one at a time, but the penalties are causing enough confusion to open holes in their pack and give the opportunity for Auld Reekie to score some points.
Admiral Attack Bar jamming against La Lucha. Once again, it's 11-11 against 5. But Admiral Attack Bar too nimble for Bazooka Salt. But now Bazooka Salt going to the penalty box, probably an out-of-play penalty. But Admiral Attack Bar is lead jammer ahead of La Lucha. Now Admiral Attack Bar hops past a hip check from HN Icy. Doesn't get all the points, but does get 3 points for Auld Reekie and prevents Sac City from scoring.
Auld Reekie continues to exhibit excellent clock control as they're willing to take not a full pass, but 3 points, including 2 ghost points, to reset the jam. With the Sac City hot on her heels, she didn't want to risk any chance of them scoring points, and she knew passing just one blocker would get her 3 points she needed.
That's right, it's 113-110. Sac City still holding on to a 3-point lead with 18 minutes left in the game. Bent Imperial jamming for Auld Reekie. Gets knocked out of bounds, recycled all the way to the top of turn 4 by a lethal weapon. Daizai Ray up front, dodges around Mini Riot to get lead jammer just ahead of Bent Imperial, who is now trying to close the gap, catch up to the Sac City jammer. But Daizai Ray hits the pack first on a scoring pass, turns around, starts calling off the jam, but not in time. It's a 2-2 jam. Bent Imperial able to steal 2 off the back of the pack before Daizai Ray can call it off.
You know, according to March's WFTDA rankings, Auld Reekie is 97, while Sac City is 39. However, this game is so close and there's so much back and forth. I really think this is going to go to the last jam, and Auld Reekie is really proving their stripes up against these American teams.
Lilo and Stitches, number 626, jamming for Auld Reekie in the green jersey against Enemy of the State, number 503 in the blue jersey for Sac City. HN Icy driving Lilo and Stitches out of bounds. She has to recycle. That gives an opportunity for Enemy of the State to get past Pope John Brawl and Crazy Legs and claim lead jammer for Sac City. Lilo and Stitches up front, just barely brushes past a lethal weapon to complete her initial pass. But Enemy of the State hits the pack on a scoring pass, runs into Ciderella, now up the outside, and gets squeezed by Crazy Legs and Pope John Brawl. Shut down, only going to get 1 point against Auld Reekie. So 1-0 jam for Sac City.
And it's a 4-point game as La Lucha lines up against Admiral Akbar.
It's like deja vu. Admiral Akbar against La Lucha. La Lucha number 5 slamming into Admiral Akbar. Both jammers going out of bounds. But a cutting the track on La Lucha. Just double checking that, make sure. And she's going to have to go the extra lap because she didn't start heading to the penalty box until she was past that line of no return. And that's going to add about 10 seconds to her penalty, effectively. Admiral Akbar had to fight for it, but finally getting past a bazooka assault for a grand slam. First scoring pass, now the second scoring pass of the power jam as she slams into Velocity, her teammate. And it knocks down Red Tornado, but gets another grand slam in the ensuing chaos. 10 points so far for Auld Reekie, and that is going to put them for now. They are in the lead. Third scoring pass of this power jam gets around Bazooka Assault and Red Tornado for a third grand slam, but that's the end of the power jam. La Lucha back on the track. Velocity trying to catch her, but La Lucha puts on too much acceleration, gets out and completes her initial pass. But Admiral Akbar on her scoring pass number 4 gets forced out of bounds by Jekyll and Hyde the Body, but does manage to get 3 points, calls off the jam. An 18-point jam for Auld Reekie, and they're now back in the lead with 127 points to Sac City's 116.
Excellent offense by Double Destruction and Velocity all throughout that jam, allowing Admiral Akbar to use them as battering rams and make smart, patient attacks at the Capital Punishers.
14 minutes left in the game. Bent Imperial following Daizai Ray, the Sac City jammer, into the pack, but now passes her on the outside. Gets picked up at the front of the pack by the Naka and a lethal weapon, but they run out of room. The Naka has to back off, and lead jammer goes to Auld Reekie, but they bought some time, and Daizai Ray comes shooting out of the pack as well. Now both jammers in a race into scoring position. The pack picking up speed. Bent Imperial calls off the jam, but did she do it in time? No! Daizai Ray gets 3 points, and Bent Imperial only 1, so a +2 differential for Sac City.
The Auld Reekie blockers were really focused on forcing one of Sac City's blockers out of bounds and getting that point for Bent Imperial. They didn't even notice Daizai Ray just running up the inside line and scoring on them.
Oh, and it looks like Auld Reekie sent out the wrong jammer. They sent out Admiral Akbar, but La Lucha is not lined up against her.
This might be the first time that Enemy of the State faces Admiral Akbar on the line.
Actually, it might be Sac City that sent out the wrong jammer. But Admiral Attack Bar gets out quickly with lead jammer. The enemy of this state, number 503 for Sac City, still in the thick of the pack. Now moving up the inside, gets clobbered by Caitlin O'Carroll as Admiral Attack Bar slices through the pack, getting a grand slam. She's lapped the opposing jammer, but enemy of the state recovers and gets out of the pack, completing her initial pass. But Admiral Attack Bar on scoring pass number 2, gets hip checked by Con Artist out of bounds, calls off the jam. Just in time. Enemy of the state not going to get anything. 2 more points for Auld Reekie, making a total of 7 points in the jam.
Caitlin O'Carroll is a fantastic all-around derby player. She jams, she blocks, she plays timely offense and excellent defense. Really impressed with her gameplay this evening.
The score 138 to 119. Auld Reekie in the lead with just 12 minutes left in the game. Lilo and Stitches moves up front, bounces off a hip check from Bazooka Salt, dodges around HNIC and gets lead jammer for Auld Reekie. La Lucha outracing Velocity and Double Destruction to get out of the pack, but Lilo and Stitches on a scoring pass, squeezes around a Lethal Weapon, and Bazooka Salt calls off the jam just in time. 4 points for Auld Reekie.
Auld Reekie's got quite the streak now. They've had several lead jammers in a row, and Sac City has, yet again, 2 blockers in the box. We've got a timeout for the Capital Punishers. They're going to catch their breath. And I want to let you know about our fabulous sponsors. Thanks to LTD for supporting the Big O. Check out the One Pass for only $50. Your kids get access to the Willamette Lane Centers and unlimited LTD rides all summer. Thank you, LTD.
So that timeout freezes the clock at 11 minutes 33 seconds. That is the second timeout used by Sac City. They have 1 remaining. Auld Reekie has 2 timeouts remaining. The score 142 to 119. Auld Reekie in the lead.
I think Sac City is trying to stop the momentum. Auld Reekie was on fire there for several jams in a row, getting lead jammer status, having pack advantage, and just racking up the points.
That's right, and accumulating a 23-point lead late in the game. Of course, they were ahead of Sac City for the majority of the first half, but Sac City coming back in the second, late in the first half, and developing a small lead over Auld Reekie. But now Auld Reekie's gotten back into their stride, I think, and now 23 points ahead. Admiral Attack Bar facing off this time against Dai's Eye Ray. Admiral Attack Bar moves up a 2-wall, a Lethal Weapon, and Con Artist unable to stop her, and she's lead jammer once again. Admiral Attack Bar very consistent in the second half at getting lead jammer. Dai's Eye Ray stuck at the rear of the pack. Yin and Bank, Ciderella, and Double Destruction holding her there, but she dodges around the outside and follows Admiral Attack Bar out of the pack. Admiral Attack Bar comes in with a hip check. Wants to slow down this jammer. It's a little bit of defensive stance, but she's a full lap ahead of the Sac City jammer. Already has a grand slam, and now she just takes a few more seconds off the clock. It's going to be a 5-0 jam for Auld Reekie.
That is one smart jammer. That was a mix of clock management and letting her pack get into a good defensive position. Auld Reekie trying to race to the front and reform, putting the points in the back of the pack for Admiral Attack Bar. Unfortunately, their pivot got stuck, and so the Dai's Eye Ray was just too close to her. So as they approached the pack, she called it off and a 0-0 pass.
Caitlin O'Carroll jamming for Auld Reekie. Looks like an illegal procedure penalty called against a Lethal Weapon. So that drops Sac City down to 3 blockers. It was a 5-on-5 jam, but now Caitlin O'Carroll, the Auld Reekie jammer, facing only 3 Sac City blockers. Enemy of the state for Sac City gets out of the pack, completing her initial pass. But Caitlin O'Carroll, ricochets off a hip check from Bazooka Salt and runs into the NACA. Looks over her shoulder, sees enemy of the state coming up, calls off the jam. 4 points, Auld Reekie, another positive differential for the ladies in green. 9 minutes remaining. There it is, Admiral Attack Bar against La Lucha. Everything is right in the world once again. Admiral Attack Bar gets around Con Artist, who's going to the penalty box now. But La Lucha gets out of the pack first for lead jammer. Admiral Attack Bar creamed by HN Icy, but she's going to get a penalty and follow Con Artist to the penalty box. But it looks like Admiral Attack Bar also getting a penalty. A cutting the track penalty, so that gives up a power jam to La Lucha, getting a grand slam. First scoring pass of the power jam. But Auld Reekie at full strength, only one blocker on the track right now. That's for Sac City, that's a lethal weapon, so a 4-on-1 pack advantage. And I'm looking around, I think Sac City may have only fielded 3 blockers on the track because everything else looks normal. So possibly a little self-inflicted wound on Sac City, but La Lucha still managing to navigate this overpowering advantage. Gets a second grand slam, now hits the pack on scoring pass number 3. Calls off the jam as soon as she sees Admiral Attack Bar coming back in. And I don't think she got any points, only 10 points on that power jam for Sac City. Auld Reekie remaining at 151. Official timeout called.
And we just want to remind the fans here that Auld Reekie has a bunch of merch that they're selling and cannot take home with them. So if you're interested in some merch from the ladies in green, check them out. They're underneath the pork sign by track 2. So go buy their merch.
And an announcement, please pay attention, folks. We have a skater who is missing a skate bag and phone. If found, please return to the volunteer table out front. And I have a description, but the phone just turned off. Okay. Where's Ron? Your phone. It shut down on me with that. Is this an LL Bean bag? Okay, it's a maroon LL Bean bag. So if you find a skating bag that doesn't seem to belong to anyone, do not call the authorities. Just return it to the volunteer table because we're not really that worried about them surviving a mysterious bag attack. Bint Imperial jamming for Auld Reekie. Gets around. She is lead jammer. There goes Desiree, number 68, completing her first scoring pass, but her initial pass. Bint Imperial completing a scoring pass, calls off the jam. 5-0, Auld Reekie. But once again, please, if you find a maroon LL Bean skate bag that also contains a phone, please return it to the volunteer table. Thank you very much.
And penalties seem to be the Achilles heel for Sac City as they start another jam in a blocker deficit. It is 4-2 in Auld Reekie's favor as Admiral Attack Bar faces Enemy of the State.
Admiral Attack Bar versus Enemy of the State. Admiral Attack Bar just winning by a hair, by a nose, by a helmet cover. But she's going to call it off. A 0-0 jam. Score now 156 Auld Reekie to 129 Sac City with just 6 minutes remaining in the game.
And Auld Reekie exhibiting, again, that they have excellent penalty management and cock management skills. The jammers were so close to each other, Admiral Attack Bar chose, rather than to burn clock, call off the jam and start Stitches in a 4-on-2 pack advantage.
Lilo and Stitches, number 626, jamming for Auld Reekie in the green against La Lucha, number 5 in the blue for Sac City. 3-wall, that's Moby, Quick, Skinner Alive, and Mini Riot. That's Skinner Alive knocking down La Lucha. But La Lucha somehow does a double pirouette with I think there's a full camel getting through the pack. Gets lead jammer ahead of Lilo and Stitches. But Lilo and Stitches, a valiant effort, and finally fights her way past Red Tornado. But she's just completing her initial pass. La Lucha on a scoring pass. This time blasts through the Auld Reekie defenses and calls off the jam. Gets 4 points for Sac City.
La Lucha has absolutely been the most effective jammer for Sac City, and she showed it yet again in that jam. Starting off with only 2 blockers, she still managed to obtain lead.
Four on 3 pack advantage for Auld Reekie. Admiral attack bar, finding the open outside lane around her teammates, but they're only to run into a 3-wall. But the Naka unable to stop her. Admiral attack bar forces her way past, gets lead jammer for Auld Reekie. Desiree forced out of bounds. Ciderella and broke John Brawl, and there goes Crazy Legs, rounding it out into a 3-wall. But Admiral attack bar forced out of bounds, getting the same treatment, has to recycle way back to turn 4. Desiree knocked out of bounds, but the Auld Reekie defenders falling down allows her to come back in clean. But then a 2-wall picks up the Double Destruction and Pope John Brawl, stopping Desiree in her tracks. Now it's Pope John Brawl and Crazy Legs, but a quick move up the inside gets her around Crazy Legs, and she has completed her initial pass. But Admiral attack bar is going to call off the jam. Another grand slam before that ends.
Auld Reekie getting a little bit too excited with their teamwork in that last jam. So we had Ciderella going to the box for a direction of gameplay, and then also Crazy Legs. They're just trying a little bit too hard to play that offense and make sure that the jammer gets forced out of bounds. Oh, and it looks like Crazy Legs has fouled out of the game. She had 5 penalties in the first half and now has obtained her 7th penalty.
And I think this is also Moby Quick's first trip to the penalty box. But Ciderella and Moby Quick in the penalty box, so Auld Reekie will start out 2 blockers short.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, the Horsehead, a longtime supporter of the Emerald City Roller Girls. If you haven't had their collard greens yet, you should go and check it out. They're delicious.
That whistle ends the official timeout. The clock at 3 minutes, 23 seconds. Auld Reekie at 161, Sac City at 133. Caitlin O'Carroll, number 87, jamming for Auld Reekie against Enemy of the State, number 503, who blasts past Mini Riot and Skinner Alive to get lead jammer. Caitlin O'Carroll held up by Bazooka Sultan, now finds a path around her, only to run into Devastator on the outside. There goes Enemy of the State through the Auld Reekie defenses. Skinner Alive and Mini Riot. No, she gets a back block penalty. Did not get around them. So that's going to be a power jam, but a very short one for Auld Reekie because Caitlin O'Carroll gets a penalty as well. Same penalty, back block against both jammers. So only a few seconds served by Enemy of the State, and Caitlin O'Carroll also serving a shortened penalty. And that clears the penalty box. In fact, Hippasquishamus returning to play for Sac City, so 5 on 5. Caitlin O'Carroll at the front, runs into Devastator, but Devastator runs out of room, has to back off. Caitlin O'Carroll completing her initial pass. Enemy of the State was on a scoring pass when she just dodges behind a hip check from Mini Riot, only to run into Ciderella and Moby Quick, but gets through, completing the pass. Grand Slam. She was already in Grand Slam territory when she got sent to the penalty box. But now Caitlin O'Carroll splattered on the track by a lethal weapon, crawls back out of bounds and recycles. And Enemy of the State comes in again, but is recycled by Ciderella. Both jammers on a scoring pass, but Enemy of the State, it is a scoring pass number 2. Gets 4 points out of a potential 5. Caitlin O'Carroll still on her first scoring pass. Lethal Weapon makes last contact for Sac City against Caitlin O'Carroll, but she's going to get 4 points. Enemy of the State on scoring pass number 3. Moby Quick and Skinner Alive make contact. Skinner Alive gets in front of her, but she does get all 4 points, so a big jam for Sac City. But time running very short for the game.
And a lethal weapon, one of the power blockers for Sac City, playing excellent offense and defense and sending jammers flying with just a flick of her hip, stays on the track, joined by HNIC, another one of the bully blockers for the Capital Punishers. Admiral Attack Bar is going to have her work cut out for her.
Less than 1 minute remaining on the period clock when the jam starts. Only 19 points ahead. Auld Reekie's jammer, Admiral Attack Bar, gets out front and claims lead jammer. That could potentially be decisive in the game, but La Lucha following behind. Both jammers have completed their initial pass, moving into scoring position, and Sac City down 2 blockers as Admiral Attack Bar and La Lucha get into the pack on a scoring pass neck and neck. But Admiral Attack Bar shuffled out of bounds by Red Tornado as La Lucha easily gets through the pack, gets 4 points for Sac City. Admiral Attack Bar stuck behind Bazooka Salt, a quick acceleration and gets past that Sac City blocker. Red Tornado now trying to line up the pass, but Admiral Attack Bar deftly dodges behind, completes the pass. Gets 4 points for Auld Reekie, but La Lucha on her second scoring pass, already 4 points. But Admiral Attack Bar calls off the jam. She is going to, La Lucha only going to get 1 more point, so 5-4 Sac City. And I believe that is going to give Auld Reekie the victory.
Excellent, excellent, excellent clock management by Auld Reekie. Admiral Attack Bar was very smart, waiting to call off that jam, willing to trade points with La Lucha to guarantee that the game would end, there wouldn't be another jam, and they would come out the victors. Congratulations to Auld Reekie as they win the second game of the Big O, their third game altogether, and they play again tomorrow against the Emerald City Roller Girls. This is the last game for Sac City Capital Punishers.
Unofficial final, 169 for Auld Reekie, 151 for Sac City. And of course, Sac City was favored in the rankings.
So quite a boon for Auld Reekie. I'm sure that the rankings calculator will be in their favor with this win.
And now the increasingly familiar London Bridge given by Auld Reekie for Sac City.